All right, back to some of our breaking news information. A Virginia cop is off the force and facing a massive lawsuit after an Army officer was pepper sprayed, kicked, and handcuffed during a traffic stop. That officer, Army Lieutenant Caron Nazario, has filed a $1 million lawsuit claiming that the two officers violated his First and 14th Amendment rights. The suit was filed in the U.S. District Court and first reported by the Virginian Pilot. So this comes as demonstrators call for justice after the fatal shooting of course, Daunte Wright in Minnesota, and which also happened during a traffic stop. Meantime, the trial of Derek Chauvin is currently underway in Minneapolis. So for more on this, I want to bring in Timothy Bella. He is the deputy editor for the Washington Post Morning Mix. Thank you so much for joining us this morning to talk about this story. So policing in America has certainly been front and center over the past year or so. What can you tell us about this lawsuit? I'm sort of curious about what's in the lawsuit and sort of the time between the incident and the lawsuit being filed. What was Army Lieutenant Nazario doing? And, if what got him to the point where he felt, the only way to get any sort of recognition and change is to file a lawsuit?
Yes, good morning. So according to his attorney, the Army officer has faced so much trauma and so many nightmares from this incident that it's been honestly taking him for the last almost 4 months now. So during the actual stop, as a lot of people have seen by now, police had their actual guns drawn and pepper sprayed him before assaulting him with these knee strikes. And it all actually stemmed from him getting pulled over for them not actually seeing his temporary license tags on his car that he had recently purchased. And you can actually see on the video that those tags are visible, but that did not stop these two cops from engaging what is called a felony traffic stop, in which they had their guns drawn and really led to this escalated situation. And later on, according to the lawsuit, he even actually threatened to end his military life if he actually spoke out about it. So over these last 3-4 months or so, it really has gotten into a point that he felt like he was actually officially profiled. So that's how he actually got here.
So one of the officers involved, Officer Joe Gutierrez, there was an investigation. He's been fired, but there was, as we see in the video, another officer involved. What do we know about that officer?
Yeah, so it's still unclear why both officers have not been fired. I know the Virginia Attorney General has now launched a probe into this incident. So, but for anyone who's seen the videos and has read the lawsuit, it is evident that Officer Gutierrez was the aggressor and more vocal of those two instead of Daniel Crocker. In the case of Officer Gutierrez, he's the one who verbally engaged with the Army officer and pepper sprayed him and allegedly assaulted him and threatened him during this whole encounter. So while it's unclear why both have not been fired or disciplined, it's very clear Officer Gutierrez was the aggressor.
So Virginia last year passed a number of criminal justice reforms having to do with the use of deadly force and dangerous police tactics. Can you sort of walk us through some of those changes and whether or not those changes could impact the investigation into this incident?
Yeah, so those measures themselves mostly covered a deadly force, and including the actual ban of these dangerous tactics like the ones we saw involving George Floyd and a number of other people. Now, in this case, what's really interesting is the state of Virginia has passed bills that focus on excessive force, and has kind of been put front and center, which allows these victims to collect in court. And I know in the case of the Army officer, he is seeking at least $1 million in damages from what he calls his racial profiling. And he also wants the court to force these two officers to acknowledge that his rights were actually violated, specifically under the Fourth Amendment.
All right, Timothy Bella, thank you.
Thank you so much.